welcome to Working On It. I'm Dr. A and I'm a clinical psychologist aiming to make your life just a bit more manageable. Remember, the tools and the tidbits that you pick up on this channel are purely educational. They can't replace therapy, but with some practice, they can help you along in your daily life. So let's get started. Today, we will be honoring the memory of the late, the great Queen Elizabeth II. It's the end of an era, isn't it? A really long and a really dignified era. There are many people who are honorable and good and decent and aim to do good in the world, and she was one of them. And I think it's really important to honor those people, even if just for a moment, and especially since they represented something in the world and did a lot of good. Because there's a lot of people who not just don't do good, but there's a lot of people who antagonize. And she was not one of those people. She brought a lot of light to the world. So it's important to just note her life and what she's done with it. And so one of the ways in which I'd like to do that is just to talk about some of her accomplishments and some of her lighthearted moments too. At the end, I will tell you my absolute favorite story of all time of Queen Elizabeth's. It's just my absolute favorite. And when I'm having a tough time, or I'm scared to get older, or I remember this exact thing that just happened last year. So I'll tell you that all the way at the end. In the meantime, the royals are public servants, and she really did serve her people for her entire adult life, which is, it's wild to think about. She has met with, I mean, you guys can look this up, I'm not going to get too much into detail, but just about every single world leader throughout history that you can possibly think of. Every world leader, every president came to meet with her and came to consult with her at times. And that is absolutely incredible. I mean, she has outreigned and outlived just about everyone. It's truly unbelievable what staying busy and staying active of mind and body can do, right? Just to give you perspective, she has outreigned 6 popes. 6. So that is pretty incredible. One of my favorite fun facts, to jump back to the fun side, is she had a glass of champagne every day. She just liked the bubbly. And that's just a fun fact. And as well as, I like that her outfits were very loud. You know, she didn't dress in age appropriate colors. She wore lime green and bright orange, and the hat would match the outfit, which was so great. And one of my favorite fun facts too is that her purse that carried cash only to give to church, by the way, she would use it as a signal for her security. When she moved behind her back, when she moved the purse from one hand to another hand, that meant it was time to go. She didn't want to offend the person she was talking to or be impolite. She has a lot of poise and dignity, so she would just move the purse and her security would sort of be like, okay, it's time to go, and take her away, which I thought was very sweet. Back to a serious note, one of the things that I admire most is that in her kingdom and in all her riches and, you know, where she grew up, she still signed up for the Women's Army during World War II. She and Winston Churchill's daughter, I believe, which is incredible. And then throughout her reign, she was incredibly philanthropic. She backed countless charities, which I respect and admire as well. But that brings me to my most fun stories, the stories that I've been waiting to tell you guys. These are just a couple of lighthearted stories. I didn't want this video to be very long because you guys can look up all the facts about her. This isn't about that, but I just wanted to share some of my most fun moments thinking about her. And that is 2 things. I believe it was last year in the summer. There's definitely pictures of it, but maybe there's even video of it as well. You know, when you're a royal, you have to do things in a very specific way. And this has been that way for hundreds and hundreds of years. Part of the royal family is the tradition of how you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do. And so there was an event being thrown for the volunteers who were helping to set up her 70th year on the throne jubilee. 70 years just reigning, just on the thrones. That's some people's entire life, literally. And so there was an event thrown and there was a cake, and it was her honor to cut the cake. And so there was obviously a knife next to the cake, but what did she do? She asked for a sword, a massive sword, to cut the cake. And when she was reminded that there was a knife next to the cake that she could cut the cake with, she said, I know, this is something more unusual. So that playful element, even though you're in such a serious position with traditions and rules hoisted upon you, the playfulness of it is what I love and respect. The silliness of it. Like I said, from her really loud outfits to cutting the cake with a sword when she was reminded that there was a knife. But that is not my all-time favorite story. My absolute all-time favorite story is the following. There's a magazine called Oldies, or Oldie magazine, and last year in the summer she was asked to be Oldie of the Year. They honor and they crown, no pun intended, an Oldie of the Year every year, and she was asked. The Queen's response to Oldie of the Year, being nominated for Oldie of the Year, is the thing that I think about all the time when I'm having a bad day, when I'm scared to get older, when things just seem a little bit bleak. I always think of Queen Elizabeth being honored with Oldie of the Year and her response. And it reads as the following. Her Majesty believes you are as old as you feel. And as such, the Queen does not believe she meets the relevant criteria to be able to accept. And that she hopes that they will find a more worthy recipient. And then she sent her warmest wishes. So she was asked to be Oldie of the Year, and basically she rejected it because she said, I don't feel like an oldie. I feel really, really young, and I hope you find somebody more noteworthy and more worthy recipient. I'm not worthy of it because I'm too young to possibly be Oldie of the Year. I think about that once a week. Because at 90, at that time, was she 95 or 96, to be able to say something like that and really feel it? Like, I can't possibly be Oldie of the Year. I'm too young, and really, really feel it and sent a letter with that response. I just think is the most beautiful thing that we could all learn from. So what can we learn from this icon that has been around as long as we have, and way longer than us, but our entire life she's been the queen, the only queen. And by the way, for the remainder of our lifetime, she will be the only queen monarch. Isn't that wild? It's Charles, then it's William, then it's his son. So that was the last queen in our lifetime that we will ever know. But what can we learn? Well, like I said before, being active of mind and body gets you a long way. She was still walking around. She was still going to engagement. She was still talking to people. Sometimes she would joke with the guards, the guards with the fluffy hats and stuff. Sometimes, it was a procession and she would be going by and she would kind of stop and joke around with them, right? She was really, really sharp, as Betty White was, by the way, continuing to move in your body and continuing to challenge your mind and use it. If you don't use it, you lose it. Sometimes is a real thing, especially as we get older. So continuing to be active both mentally and physically, as well as trying to be a good, a decent, and honorable person who wants to do good in the world. It was her desire, and it was in her actions, to do good in the world and to be poised, right? We could all use a little bit of that. We could all do a little bit of that. So being good in the world, being active, and then being silly and playful and youthful at heart, right? Our mind only knows what we tell it. So if we tell our mind that we're fun-spirited and we're playful and we're youthful and we're silly at times, sometimes when we're supposed to be, sometimes when we're not supposed to be, starts to embody who we are in all situations. We're able to be serious and we're able to be playful, just like she was. And that might take us a long way. Maybe not as long as the queen herself, but we can all definitely learn something. So I wanted to get on here, honor her memory, share my personal favorite stories with you guys. Maybe you have some of your own, and just take a moment to honor somebody who deserves to be honored. We deserve to honor people who bring light into the world rather than antagonize, right? I post videos every Tuesday and Friday, and in the next video, we will be talking about how to make friends as adults. It seems impossible. Anybody I talk to struggles with this. It's hard to know where to even go to make friends. And then when you're in front of somebody, how do we act? It's so easy in school. And then we get out of school and it's a little bit like a no man's land, right? So I'm going to tell you about that. And also, I got a really good response from the last video about having healthy friendships. So I would go and watch that. It references Brene Brown's work. And so take a look. Until then, you got this. See you next time.